Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. You ready to unpack some seriously juicy political drama?
Always.
All right, so today we're looking at why Vice President Kamala Harris never appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild story.
Yeah, and our main source is this really interesting article from the Daily Beast. They go behind the scenes of this whole podcast invite that it just never happened. So before we jump in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so first things first, Joe Rogan, the podcasting king himself. He's out there claiming he invited Kamala Harris onto his show.
Which is a big deal, right? I mean, we're probably millions of listeners. He's had everyone on that show. From Elon Musk to...
Since Donald Trump? Exactly.
So, this is not a small platform.
No, not at all. And, Rogan's the kind of guy who doesn't shy away from controversial figures.
Nope.
So having someone like Harris on would have been huge.
Absolutely. And Rogan says he was super flexible with timing. He even offered her those, super late night or early morning slots that he sometimes does.
Well, yeah, trying to make it work. So then why didn't it happen?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right. That's where things get interesting.
Yeah, so Rogan, is famous for this very specific format. It's 3 hours long, super free-flowing, all happening in a studio.
Yeah, it's like his whole thing.
Right.
Right.
And he always talks about wanting to have a genuine human conversation.
Really get deep.
Yeah, exactly. But apparently that approach didn't exactly vibe with Harris's team.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it seems like they were more into something shorter, maybe even off-site.
Interesting. And, Rogan even brought up that interview Harris did with Bret Baier.
The one where her aides were, signaling for it to end.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
He saw that as a lack of genuine engagement.
Yeah.
Too many handlers trying to control everything.
And honestly, I can see where he's coming from.
Yeah, it definitely makes you think about the whole power dynamic in new media.
Right. Rogan's got this huge audience. He's known for his no-holds-barred style. So for a politician like Harris, going on his show is a major gamble.
For sure. It's a gamble that she ultimately decided not to take.
Yeah, which is interesting because Rogan said he thinks they could have had a fine conversation.
But then you have Trump.
Oh, boy.
Never one to miss an opportunity to stir the pot.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He predicted that Harris wouldn't be able to handle a Rogan interview.
Oh, come on.
I know. He even said she'd be comatose.
No.
Ouch, right?
Yeah, that's a pretty low blow.
It is. But I think it kind of plays into this perception of Rogan's show as this, intellectual battleground.
If you can survive 3 hours with Rogan, you're a real contender.
Right. Which is kind of ridiculous when you think about it.
Yeah, totally.
But it does say something about the uniqueness of Rogan's platform and the challenges it presents for politicians who are used to, the traditional media game.
Totally. That's a whole different ball game.
So that brings us to, the core of this whole deep dive.
Okay, I'm listening.
How should politicians navigate these new, less formal spaces for political talk?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, do you embrace the potential chaos and the chance to go viral?
Right.
Or do you stick with what you know, even if it means maybe missing out on connecting with a whole new generation of voters?
That's a tough one.
It really is. And that's what we're going to keep unpacking. So stay tuned.
I'm hooked. Because you've got this huge opportunity, right? You can connect with people who might not even be watching cable news or reading political blogs.
Yeah, they're choosing to listen to Rogan. They're actively engaged with his stuff for hours.
Exactly. It's a completely different world of political talk.
Yeah.
The rules are looser, things are more raw, and you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that unpredictability can be risky, though, especially for someone like Harris, who's always trying to project this, carefully crafted image.
Totally. Rogan's show is all about unfiltered conversations, and that can backfire so easily.
For sure. There's always a chance for misstatements or things getting taken out of context.
Or just facing tough questions that you wouldn't get from a more traditional interviewer.
Think about it from Harris's team's perspective. Would you really want your candidate going on Rogan for 3 hours and just seeing what happens?
No way.
What if he brings up some super controversial topic? What if she gets flustered or says something she regrets?
Yeah, it's a valid concern. It's not just about saying the wrong thing either.
Oh, right.
There's the whole visual element, too. Remember that moment during the Bret Baier interview?
When her aides were trying to shut it down?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine that happening on Rogan's show. In his studio with cameras rolling. It could go viral in an instant.
Well, totally. It would be meme fodder for days.
And we can't forget that Rogan himself has criticized Harris in the past.
Yes.
He's expressed doubts about her policies and her approach to governing.
So is it even a fair fight?
Right. Would she be walking into a hostile environment?
It makes you wonder.
And it all goes back to this bigger question about the role of these new media platforms.
Okay.
Are they truly neutral spaces for open dialogue? Or do they have their own agendas and biases?
It's hard to say.
Even Rogan, with all his talk about human conversations, he's got his own perspective. He frames things in his own way.
Yeah, we have to be aware of that as we're consuming information from these less traditional sources.
Absolutely.
We need to be critical thinkers.
Yes.
And evaluate the information we're getting, regardless of whether it's from like a journalist, a social media influencer, or someone like Rogan.
Couldn't agree more. The lines between entertainment, news, and opinion are getting blurrier all the time.
It's true.
We have to figure out what's credible, what's biased, and what's just designed to grab our attention.
Okay, so let's circle back to Harris and Rogan. Do you think she made the right choice by saying no?
It's a tough one. There are good arguments on both sides.
Like what?
Well, on the one hand, she could have reached millions of people who might never hear her message otherwise. But on the other hand, maybe she dodged a bullet. Rogan's show is unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen. For a politician trying to control her image, that's dangerous.
It's a classic political dilemma.
Play it safe or take a risk.
Right.
In this case, Harris's team chose to play it safe. They stuck with the familiar world of traditional media.
Which I get. It's high stakes. Things could have gone really wrong, really publicly.
Yeah, but it makes you think about the future of political communication.
It really does.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if there could have been like a middle ground. You know, a way for Harris to reach Rogan's audience without doing the whole 3-hour free-for-all.
What if they tried a different format?
Yeah.
Like a shorter, more focused discussion.
Yeah.
Maybe on one specific policy issue?
Right, something that plays to both their strengths.
Exactly.
Or what about a remote interview?
Ooh, interesting.
So she'd have more control over the setting and how the conversation flows.
It wouldn't be as raw and energetic as being in Rogan's studio.
True.
But it could still be a way to reach those listeners without taking such a big risk.
I think it's a tough balance for any politician trying to navigate these new media spaces.
Totally.
Like, you want to seem authentic, relatable, willing to try new things.
Right.
But you also have to protect your image and make sure you're getting your message across.
And that's where it gets tricky.
Yeah, because the old playbook of stage rallies and scripted interviews.
Doesn't really work anymore.
Exactly. You have to be ready for anything. You have to be able to think on your feet and engage in a more spontaneous way.
It takes a whole different set of skills.
It really does.
It's not about reciting talking points anymore. It's about connecting with people.
Yeah, on a personal level.
Exactly.
But maybe that's the takeaway for politicians.
What's that?
If you want to reach these new audiences, you got to adapt. You can't just rely on the old ways of doing things.
Because here's the thing. These new media platforms, they aren't going anywhere.
Nope.
They're only getting bigger. More influence, more power to shape public opinion.
So it's like,
Yeah.
Are you going to be part of the conversation, or are you going to get left behind?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is. And that's where we turn it over to you, our amazing listeners.
How do you think?
Did Harris make the right call by skipping Rogan? Or was it a missed opportunity to connect with a different audience?
Let us know in the comments.
Don't forget to like and subscribe while you're at it.
And keep exploring. Keep asking questions. Keep diving deep into the stuff that matters.
Because that's how we all learn and grow. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
See you next time.